All right, y'all. This segment is about lighting conditions. If you haven't watched the other two videos I got posted with this over frames per second and the additional settings, I highly recommend you do so. I think that might impact how you look at this raw footage, as I am somebody who does use the high dynamic range setting. Again, I explained it in that video. This one's going to be focused on just the lighting conditions themselves. Obviously, you don't have control over what the sun, weather, or what environment you're going to be shooting in. Some of you guys do a lot of indoor matches, and we need something that can kind of keep up with that level of light availability. I think the AimCams do a really good job of handling all outdoor conditions perfectly in that 4K advertised quality. I think where you start to see some of the drop off is in that indoor range footage, but if we're being frank, almost all devices are struggling with that same level of ISO capability. So without further ado, let's take a look at some footage. All right, y'all, we're starting off with a high glitter sunny morning. I think we can all agree this is the worst scenario to try to record in. Often you get sun glares that overtake the entire camera. So I think AimCam really shines with that HDR effect to make sure those highlights and shadows don't get washed out. Even when you're getting into more of those overcast days, you're still getting true colors. You're getting all your highlights and shadows and making sure that you have complete color control over it at the end. A clip like this shows you the standard contrast without that HDR effect to show you guys more normal colors. But as you can see, I prefer to use more of that HDR effect again to get those deeper shadows, deeper highlights. That way I have more control over it at the end if there was something like one of those high glare sunny mornings. Again, as the day goes on, you can see the footage is just clear as day. This is actually a clip here as it's starting to get a little darker. Again, it has that dusk look. It was actually a bright sunny day. This is like 30 minutes before sundown. And as that sun peaks over the ridge, you can see how drastic that changes, where the sunlight gets really warm, your shadows get really cool and blue. That's partially due to that HDR effect. Again, that's exaggerating my highlights and shadows just to make sure they all get captured together rather than being flattened. When you get to the indoor ranges, I was actually pleasantly surprised at how good the quality is. That being said, if your range has poor lighting, expect to see very, very deep blues even without that HDR effect. I think if you want the true experience of how the aim cams perform over a period of the day, I think you should go watch some of the full matches I've put up online on my channel at Adjacent Ace. That'll allow you to kind of see from the same match what it looks like in the morning versus what it looks like at dusk when those matches run a little bit over for like PCSL 2 gun. I think it's a really great way to decide whether or not um, this is the product for you, because I think if you want to get the most out of the aim cams, you have to use that HDR effect and then maybe use a little bit of editing after. It's just because those shadows can get washed out really easily. I think it handles highlights better than most cameras do, honestly. And the quality is really, unmatched for something that is point of view from your glasses. The only other competitor is Meta. It's a fixed lens, and there's other issues that kind of go with that I just wouldn't ever consider using it for a shooting sports hardware necessarily. I think the aim cams perform very well.